quality education and advancing the integration of tech in education policies across Africa. That's why we do this on the last Monday of every month, and we are live on the City Breakfast Show. You can also watch us live on social via City FM's Facebook page or MEST Africa's Facebook page. This month we are talking gender equality in STEM education, closing the gender gap. Now, STEM, which is science, tech, engineering, and math education, is critical to developing the skills needed for the future workforce, and in Ghana and in many other parts of the world, the gender gap in STEM fields still remains significant. Fewer girls and fewer women are in the space, as well as vulnerable people who are pursuing careers. So we'll hear from young entrepreneurs today who have used Edtech to start their businesses. We'll hear some professionals using tech to nurture and mentor the next generation of innovators. And these people are closing the gap by providing the tools and resources and mentorship they need to succeed. You can join in your thoughts and comments by joining the conversation, by bringing in your thoughts and comments on the number 0549-986-996, 0549-986-996. Let me introduce my guest for the morning. I've got Daisy Amabafo is the learner engagement program manager at Generation Ghana. Daisy, good morning.
Good morning, Nathan.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
All right. And I've got Nana Dako, the country manager for ALX Ghana. Nana, how are you doing?
Yeah, very well, Nathan.
Yeah, nice to see you. You wanted to be last week? 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yes. I've got Miriam Boku. Miriam Boku is Associate Monitoring, Evaluation and Learning Officer at the Ghana Society for Education Technology. Miriam, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning, Nathan.
Right. Our former guest is not here, Tremor Upon Daniel. He's president of the National Union of Ghana Students. He'll join us in a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. Welcome to Edtech Monday.
Morning, Nathan, and good morning to your listeners.
Okay. I'll be in about a minute. Can you just tell us? Okay, let me start with you. You work with the Ghana Society for Education Technology. What exactly do you do in your role? Associate Monitoring, Evaluation and Learning Officer. So just tell us in a few seconds what you do in your position.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Once again, my name is Miriam Okwutashigo, and I work with the Ghana Society for Education Technology as the Associate Monitoring, Evaluation and Learning Officer. So GSET is a community of educators, innovators that are working together to improve innovation and technology and use in education. So what I do at GSET, mainly my role entails working with the main monitoring and evaluation learning officer, where we gather data on the use of technology in the classroom. So our recent project was on education technology, and then how teachers are able to implement technology in education. So we gather data to be able to see where teachers are currently in the use of technology in education.
I see.
Mainly that is what I do, like she said.
I see. Daisy, you're with Generation Ghana. What do you do in your role? You're Learner Engagement Program Manager. Such a huge title.
Okay, good morning to our dear listeners. My name is Daisy Amabafu. I'm like you mentioned, Learner Engagement Program Manager at Generation Ghana. And what Generation Ghana does is that we currently recruit and train young adults who are currently unemployed. We give them trainings in 4 different tech professions. This is web development, digital marketing, digital customer service, and data analysts. We provide these trainings for them fully funded by kind courtesy of the Mastercard Foundation. Once their trainings are completed, we place them into entry-level roles here in Ghana with local and international organizations.
See, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, you're country manager for ALX Ghana. What does your role entail? It sounds like a huge role, country manager. I'm managing the whole of Ghana.
I do that the help of the team. So what I basically do is to supervise the operations of what the team does. So ALX is focused on youth empowerment, and we're doing this through tech courses. We've been in Ghana since 2022, but in scaled our operations in 2023, where from then to date, about 75,000 Ghanaian youth have gone through our various programs.
Okay.
And we have tech courses. Like she mentioned, we also work in partnership with the Mastercard Foundation, and we run programs in data science, data analysis, software engineering. These are very tech-heavy courses, and we're doing this because of the opportunities that we've seen both locally and globally, the interest and also career opportunities when it comes to the tech field. We're not able to fill it, but there's unemployment in the country. So now we're empowering people to look beyond the country and quickly. There's an arch where you don't need to jump up outside. Exactly. So we're focused on empowering youth by offering them in-demand tech courses, and that's what we think.
Wonderful, great stuff. It's a pleasure having all of you here. Let me start off with you. Let's talk about the current state of STEM education in Ghana, particularly for young girls.
Yes. So let me start by talking about some global stats, and then we can narrow it down to Ghana just to give some perspective. Currently, on a global scale, if we look at all the STEM roles that exist, there's only, about 25%, 28 to 30% of those roles that are occupied by women, and this on a global scale. Even at that level, it's not very, very encouraging. But when you come down to Ghana, it's not any different. The same stats, probably slightly lower, exist here in Ghana. So if you look at careers or roles here in Ghana around mathematics, engineering, science, all of those, there's only about 25%. So in Ghana, comparing to the global matrix, Ghana is, we have a shortfall of about 3 to 5% out of that global percentage that we're looking at. So in Ghana, as it stands today, there's only about 25% of the tech groups that are being occupied by women. And this is both, old and young. And that is woefully inadequate if you look at the potential that actually exists for women, for women to be able to take advantage of something like tech. I wouldn't, in as much as this sounds very discouraging and all that, I would say that we've actually made very significant strides.
Okay.
Situations were much worse, 10 years ago, it was much worse. But, by the interventions of the private sector, civil society organizations, government, international NGOs, and several other players in the system, we have been able to make some progress. But I think that the charge now is that there is still a whole lot more that needs to be done. And I guess that's the reason why organizations such as Generation, ALX, and several others exist.
I see. Wonderful. I'm thinking, why is this the case? Why do you think there are fewer girls involved in STEM as compared to boys? And how is this gap heightened in our environment or in our context as Ghana?
Okay, so I would like to start by saying that currently there are many more girls in the classroom as compared to the past. In the past, you would hardly find a girl in the classroom. And as much as there are lots of girls in the classroom now, just like Daisy said, there's still a gap that is existing with girls in STEM courses and then STEM roles. And one of the things that I would say is a cause to this would be that there are gender stereotypes right from childhood. So, for instance, let's say you go to a typical Ghanaian home, and then, for instance, there are twin children, one a girl and then one a boy. Now, the parent is buying toys for the boy or for the girl. Then we buy utensils for the little girl. And then we buy the stethoscopes and then the labels and then all of those things for the boys. So as at that young age, you find them being psyched to a certain mentality that, okay, STEM courses are not for me. I'm supposed to go into things like sewing, like cooking, all of those things. And then now fast forward, they go into their schools and then you realize that most of their teachers, for instance, science teachers, see that there's a guy who is a science teacher. Physics is a guy who is a science teacher. And so, as at that age, the girl is thinking that, okay, why is it that there are lots of men and there are lots of guys in this room? Probably it's because it's difficult or something. And then the way these courses are taught. So when I was growing up, I learned, as I was learning, I felt like mathematics was difficult because the way it's being taught. And everybody's like, okay, math is for the boys, the science is for the boys.
Yeah.
So as at that age, you see that you grow up with all of these mentalities in your head. And then even in our textbooks, you don't even see gender representations, female representations in our books. The mathematicians are the men, the scientists are the men, the engineers are the men. So all of these things are contributing factors. And even in our communities, you find that, okay, when a child is growing up, you are always pushing the child in the female child in the direction of those female courses that they think that they will be able to do, the arts, the languages, and then all of those things.
True. Wonderful. Let's proceed. Now let me bring you in. Let's talk about tech or Edtech. How it supports learning in STEM, especially for girls.
So when I think of, just to add to the contribution that it made, I think it's not just a Ghanaian problem, right? If you look at the stats she highlighted on that, below 30% of females or women are in STEM programs. And this is deep down a social, cultural problem, right? Right from our societies, men or boys are encouraged to go for the more difficult things, while the ladies. And as they grow up, the divide becomes even worse when they go into their, like the high school, the university. You look at a typical STEM program and it's male dominated. So then the female feel left out if the men are not encouraging the female to continue to pursue it. And after year one, if they have the chance to switch into the other programs. But back to your question about Edtech. Edtech provides us a platform that now you don't have to be physically seated in a classroom, which was one of the barriers which we identified in the education sector, that when ladies find out that, or women find out that they are seated next to men and stuff, they're intimidated. They would love to have that gender balance where they can also see, okay, that there are more female in the classroom.
Of course. The more women they are, the more comfortable.
Exactly. With Edtech, now female don't, there's not a presence, although they know the men are in the classroom, there's not that presence because some of the courses are done online. So that's one of the things. And secondly, there are more female mentors now coming into the Edtech space. There is a research that shows that psychologically, if you place women in front of STEM courses, and you highlighted on this, if we made more of their science teachers, their math teachers male, they will be encouraged to go into it. But seeing this from childhood where it's male dominated, there's that idea to go into the arts or the other fields. But now with Edtech, we're having more female come out as mentors, as facilitators, and this is helping the females to also see that, okay, this is a field that I can pursue in, and that's what is helping us bridge the gap now.
I see.
Edtech. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about success stories of Edtech platforms, and Daisy, you can also answer on that. Success stories of Edtech platforms or programs that have helped to bridge the gender gap. You laid the foundation, talking about the fact that now you have more virtual programs online. Yeah. There's no physical classroom to pull people off and things. What other success stories can you share in terms of Edtech platforms that have helped to bridge the gender gap in STEM?
So let me focus on an Edtech program that I attended about 2 months ago and was organized by Junior Achievers. I think I got your name.
Yes, Junior Achievers.
Junior Achievers, exactly. They held a business pitch competition, and I was there, saw all the projects that were done by. So they had a blend of all male school, all female school, and then unisex school. So at the end, I was definitely waiting for the all female school. I'm a girl dad. Definitely challenging my daughter to go into STEM when she grows up. I would not be like the typical African parent that said, but I encourage you because of the opportunities that I've seen in STEM, especially in software engineering, all of these techie courses. So definitely I would encourage it. But back to the point, at JA, I was rooting for the girls, and I was surprised. Not just
the all-girls team.
Not just the all-girls team winning, but the first place, the first runner-up and the second runner-up were all-girls team.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the initiatives that they came up with during the event, you could see they challenged the guys, right? I wouldn't even say they didn't see the guys as a different set. They challenged and came for the competition. And then also to touch on one of the programs that we do at ALX, our software engineering program, after the first year of running it, we noticed very skewed to the data that she mentioned, just 32% of our participants were female. And we're even dropping off. So 32 was what they started with. I'm not going to mention the number that ends with, right? But then the guys were consistently going to the team. So two initiatives that we came up with in that program is we launched an all girls software engineering cohort 2 times, just to make sure that we're bridging the gap. So when we open applications, not to say the guys, you could look forward to another application, but this was just dedicated for females. We did that for 2 years, and for two application rounds. And then secondly, now we're encouraging the men or the boys in the program to let it feel a community. It shouldn't be a male-dominated community. So what I've noticed is when we're having events, we're inviting the ladies to speak more, we're inviting the ladies to moderate these sessions, and that has helped that bridge the gap from the 32 that we're experiencing to more closer to 40, 45 where we are now.
Yeah. I mean, when we look at success stories, I think there's so many organizations that have, came before us, the past decade or so. But currently, I'll just highlight a few. I'll say, MEST has always been, for a very long time, been championing tech education. But there's also organizations like the Ghana's STEM program, which is actually, I think it's a great idea. It focuses on rural Ghana. That is also one. There's also organizations like STEMBs. There are so many others that have done incredible work in the past decade or so. I would also use the opportunity to highlight some of Generation's own success stories. We also started off with, we have always started off knowing that we're targeting, minimum of about 70% women.
Okay.
That has been our target.
Wow.
And in the initial stages, it was difficult, especially if you're recruiting for a profession like web development. The applications coming from the men were way over the roof. But it had to take a very conscious effort to try and bring in as many women as possible. So we were deliberate about that, filling every cohort with at least 70%. But we have seen gradually over the years, we have seen that number rise steadily. And so it's no longer such a hassle trying to fill a cohort with the 70% women. But it was very difficult at the very start. But also in Kumasi, for example, some of our programs there, digital marketing, that is targeted purely for women.
Okay.
But the funny thing, we advertise it as purely women. A
Wow.
lot of men still apply. But yeah, these are some of the successes we've seen. So there's an organization I would like to highlight is the GSTEP.
Yeah, I was going to highlight
Yes,
that.
which
Yeah.
I think has done. I mean, they are doing something phenomenal with their prize events. But let's also not forget our very own the National Science and Maths Quiz program. If I look back my own time in secondary school, looking at the number of ladies who used to be on, as contestants, comparing that to now,
Yeah, now you have
we have a lot more women, being on that program too. So these are some of the stories.
I think I touch on the last point that you made. One thing that I noticed during the science and maths quizzes, I think people draw closer when they have a female participant among. And I remember 2 years ago we had this lady that is
Francisca.
Exactly.
She's going to medical school.
The whole country was again. It was rooting for her, right? And that shows the passion that we want to develop, not just as individuals. The whole country wants to see more development when it comes to gender equality and then STEM as well. A good point on GSTEP program that they're running, and also to say that 2 years ago, I don't think they ran it last year. I think 2 years ago when they ran it was also won by an all-female team. So not that they're being intentional, but I think if we gave the female more opportunities, they would bridge the gap. It's now that all these organizations are coming together and highlighting the importance of it. So we'll see more of that. Globally, like you mentioned, 30%. But with the intentionality that the Ghanaian program or the Ghanaian education system is putting into gender equality and then STEM, I'm sure we'll probably be one of the first countries to bridge that gap when it comes to gender equality in STEM.
Wonderful stuff. Miriam, we've heard a lot of the success stories. So what can we do? Schools, government, private sector. How can they all collaborate to ensure that you have more girls taking part in STEM education?
Yes, so on the school level, I would say that the school should be more intentional on some of the programs that they put across there. So for maybe some of the STEM programs, they should be more directed at females, and then there should be more clubs that are female oriented, so that these girls will be able to get into these clubs. And then also, I would also like to say that on the school level, the teachers are usually the role models and then the mentors of the students. So as a teacher, you should put yourself there so that your students should be able to be encouraged, your female students should be able to encourage to go into STEM. Share more opportunities that are STEM wise to them, so that they see that, okay, these are not difficult things that are too far away from females, and then they can do that. And then on the government level too, I would say that as much as we are pushing for the schools to do their parts, we'd also say that there should be more funding and then resources on the part of government. So one thing that I'm very excited about is that currently I see that there are lots of STEM centers that are being put up, and then fully furnished STEM centers for schools as well. So if the government could continue on this and then push more funding into these STEM areas that are directed at females, I think that is a push in the right direction. And then also from private sectors, there should be more mentorship programs. We should highlight more female STEM mentors that will be available to mentor these young ones that are coming up, so that they know the directions that they want to go into. So those are the few insights I'll share on that.
Let me stay with you. Earlier, when you were making a point about when we're laying the groundwork and we highlighted socialization, you made a point about parents buying cooking utensils for their daughters and they buy Lego and stuff for their sons. What can parents do in terms of shaping girls' perceptions and their aspirations towards STEM careers?
So as a parent, please stop buying it.
That's the first thing.
Yes, exactly. And myself, growing up, my family has been very supportive.
Okay.
I came from a computer science background. So my dad and my uncle, so they were very supportive. So when I was growing up, I remember my dad got me a desktop computer where I learned how to type and then all of that. And then going to the unit 2, they were pushing me to IT. So as a parent, you should be very supportive of your child. Make sure you put these opportunities in front of them, so that they'll be able to know that, okay, STEM is not so difficult as people put across. And then as a parent too, you should be ready to invest, because STEM is not cheap. So for instance, if you want your child to go into tech, you should be ready to pay for the courses that she will go into, the laptop, and then all of those things, the STEM kits. So we should encourage our children more, so that they go into STEM courses and then STEM.
Wonderful. Now, let me get your thoughts on the actionable steps that we should take now to ensure that we create a more inclusive environment, especially for girls when we talk about STEM education.
So a couple of things that she began with that we could build on that, right? So it starts with the culture that we have at the home.
The socialization.
Exactly, right? What are we highlighting to the young people at a very young age? One actionable thing that we can do is now there are STEM kits that she mentioned. There are all these easy to fix toys, easy to fix things that you can build to start forming that idea of science, technology, engineering, all of these things. So I encourage you, they are out there. We're not going to mention any shop, but then they are out there. You could go out there. Exactly. Challenge your kids at this point. And the easy ones that you could even use are the Legos, right?
Yeah.
Try to get them to build these things, what you could build. Get a picture for them, have them build it. So these are the foundational things that we can do at home. Then for the government, they're already putting a lot of effort into these things. What I would encourage is the private-public partnership, which has been a challenge for us. I don't know about generation, but we're going to these public institutions trying to introduce them to STEM because we have experience in it, and the bureaucracy that goes around, forming partnership with them. So if it could be more flexible when it comes to forming partnership with the public sector, that would also be helpful. That's also another thing to consider. And then one easy thing that we all do not notice is when it comes to advertisement of STEM, right? It's always the men that are front. So we at ALS always taken as a key thing is when we're driving advertisements around STEM courses. We always prefer to use ladies because the female, when they see that another female is doing it, they are challenged to say, okay, I could also do it. But then when already there's a barrier to say, okay, this is a men's world, then you're already challenging them to go more into, okay, then STEM is not for me. So that's also something that organizations that are into STEM could consider. I'll just highlight these details, but there's more, I'm sure.
I don't know if somebody wants to add it.
Yes, so there is one thing you spoke about. There's this advert I like a lot, soft care advert. I don't know if you've seen it, where the little girl is being pushed to go into the kitchen. I think something like that, and then she wants to be an engineer. I can't. So I think that is also a step in the right direction. When we put out such sensitization out there, we make our parents aware that okay, STEM is here to stay, and it's something that I should push my girl child more into.
Yeah, and just to add, this is something that we've spoken about, right? The more you put females out there, then at the young level, they're seeing that there are people there that are into the STEM courses. So we know there are people that want to get into mentoring, into volunteering when it comes to the STEM, and they're looking for opportunities. Organizations like ourselves, Generation MEST are always out there looking for volunteers. It's an actionable item that people listening could reach out to any of these organizations and say, I want to volunteer for STEM, and then more focus would be on supporting females. Because the more they see success stories of successful people in STEM, they would also be challenged to get into that.
Okay, things you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, just to follow up on that, I'll speak about role modeling. So, for example, if we're looking for, women in engineering, for example, to speak on issues or to speak to young people, to speak to students, we need more and more of the few women that are already in these spaces to speak up, be present in some of these community events, just so that the young children, the young ladies can see themselves in, because once you see yourself in somebody or in a profession, it makes it attractive for you to also want to pursue, to find out more. It makes you curious. So that's just what I'll add to that.
Great thoughts from my guest. This is Edtech Monday, the September edition, and you're listening to us live on City 97.3 FM. Edtech Monday is a lovely collaboration between the MasterCard Foundation and MEST Africa. And of course, City FM, we are proud to be media partners, offering a platform for these great conversations to be had on the last Monday of every month. Our topic for this morning, gender equality in STEM education, closing the gender gap. My guests are not done, they are still here, but let me just remind you, if you just tuned in and you're wondering what we are doing, that's what we're doing. Gender equality in STEM education, closing the gender gap, as part of Edtech Monday, the September edition. Today is the 30th of September. We do this on the last Monday of every month. My guests, Daisy Amabafo, Learner Engagement Program Manager at Generation Ghana. Nana Dakwin is Country Manager for ALX Ghana. And then Miriam Oklu is Associate Monitoring, Evaluation and Learning Officer at the Ghana Society for Education Technology. Now let's keep the conversation going. We've spoken a lot about, making the space more hospitable, more accommodating to girls in STEM and everything. But really, how can we encourage, girls to see STEM careers as viable and exciting? Because the truth of the matter is that you will find a lot of people who will be very scared to go down such a road when they think about all the hard work that has to go into software engineering, all the lines of code you have to write, all the things you need to do, things that at the surface look really complex, very daunting. So for girls, and then this can go around the table. How can we make STEM careers look viable and exciting? How can we tell young girls that you can do this, actually a good path to take, and it will take you somewhere? I don't know if Daisy, you want to understand this.
Yes. We need to make it as practical as possible. We have to the young girls I mean, both young girls and boys need to be able to see STEM being applied in their everyday lives. So it could be in the kitchen, it could be in the house, in school, in the car, driving to school, wherever they're going. If they're able to see this practically being implemented, it helps them, think more broadly, and makes it also more relatable. One of the points I would talk about is early exposure. So if you would, I'm sure that for most parents and for most young adults these days, when schools are about to go on vacation, there's like a flood of summer programs that are now all over in the market. So,
and then there's put a coding class
Yes.
for 2-year-old class.
That is
But
important.
she still went,
Yes.
in as much as she was there to play. I'm
Yes.
sure the certain things
Yeah.
that she did.
So that's the kind of early exposure I was talking about. So they see this right from the start. They know that these are common things. How to be able to code a game on my phone, code a cartoon, all of these things. Once they see that it's actually possible, they're able to play. They see play in STEM, and that is fun, right? There's gamification in the learning of maths, in learning of English, whatever it is. So the early they're exposed to this, the better. Then as they grow up, it's a part of them, and it becomes easy to consider going into these as professions.
Okay, wonderful. Miriam, do you want to add anything?
Yes, so with what she said on exposing them at early ages, so I've taken it upon myself, my little sister, every event that I attend, I take her along.
I see.
Every workshop I go to. And so she's able to see how exciting if other people are coding and then all of that. And she's excited and she's like, oh, how can I get into this? How can I get into it? So I think that exposing them at young ages, it opens their minds to all of these things and then they are excited. So also we should move more into developing innovative and exciting ways of teaching STEM rather than making it all theory. Let's make it more practical, more easy to understand. So like she mentioned, gamification. There's this STEM platform, I think, I can't remember the name now, but then it teaches you how to code as you're also developing games. So Scratch, yes.
Okay.
So as you are doing this, it's so exciting for you, and then you understand that okay, it's not as difficult as it was preached. And yesterday I saw a video on one guy who was using bamboo to do an electric circuit or something like that. Yes. So when they see exciting stuff like this, they become innovative, and then they are more excited about getting into STEM careers and then STEM courses.
Wait, Nana, do you want to add something?
Very briefly, we've all spoken about the foundations, right? The foundation is the most important. If we miss it at that point, it becomes more difficult. But if we're able to build it at the foundation level, then it's easier to add on to that. And something both of them touched on that I'd like to highlight is making it practical. But that word is used. But how do you make it practical?
Mhm.
For example, every kid loves playing game. Anytime you just have your phone, the next thing you know, without your permission, they've downloaded a bunch of games onto you. You could ask them, what do you think, goes behind the game, right? And these are conversations that help them to think of, I'm enjoying this game, but this game was built, with all of these things, both men, women at a very young age. And then there are role models of young people who have built games or who have built things in STEM that you could use to challenging your kid at a very young age, letting them know that whatever someone is doing, they're also able to do it. So back to the point, we don't limit them to the artsy utensils, get them to play, but of course, helping them to see that there's a world out there that is very competitive and I need to get in. So at a very young age, I'm trying to say we need to be very competitive and then also build a foundation by using the practical things to teach them.
I just want to ask a question. As you're talking about making or getting young people to like these things, there's a question I always ask tech people. That are people born to be tech people? Or you can pick it up.
Definitely, because nobody was.
I ask because, for example, I'm very naturally predisposed to letters, writing, speaking, blah blah blah. My math is not that great,
Yeah.
right? So, for a child, for example, if you're a parent and you ID that, okay, this your child leans more to reading, letters, writing, and all of that, how then can you take them along so they can take this other side up, this tech side up, without, you get what I mean, without compromising on what they naturally lean towards, but you still want to give them this ability to pick up a new skill. I hope you get my question.
Definitely get your question. I listened to a podcast a couple of weeks ago about STEM, and the aim of getting people into STEM is not for them to get a career in STEM. Take engineering, for example. People go through engineering but end up in other fields. The aim is that the foundation of engineering helps with problem solving. It helps you to break things apart, to see things. So getting a child in STEM who has an interest in reading, it's not to say you want them to become a software engineer, okay? It's to get them to get that level of mindset of thinking, to be able to think about things, right? If you get them into science, and they're able to solve simple things, like, if simple things break in the home, they should be able to fix it themselves, right? So it's not to get them into a career, although there's a lot of career opportunities in STEM. Encouraging them to take an interest in STEM is not going to get to a career. There's the benefits.
Okay.
For example,
Teach them
exactly the mathematical,
logical thinking, problem solving,
creative, all those things. But to the initial question that you asked is, everybody can pick up an interest in a STEM course, right? And I'm sure as part of your childhood, there's something that drew you to being interested in letter writing. Someone around you.
Yeah, I mean, my parents read and they still read, so that's where it counts. I read a lot because my parents read.
So as a parent, if you're seeing opportunities in STEM now, you may not have the foundation or even a career in STEM, but what you could also do, seeing the opportunities, you could help your child at a young age, the levels, the problem solving, these things, and then they'll form it, right? Nobody was built to interest based on the circumstances and then the environment.
But I'm happy that you are the first person to actually say this, that even though people are not born coders or game developers, there are certain things you learn by developing the interest, problem solving, logical thinking. So that's that. I'm happy you mentioned that. Yes.
I'll just, for example, if you look at an industry like gaming, okay, programming of games, it's one of the very few industries where it's almost like the film and the arts industry, right? It employs a lot of people from different sectors.
Not only the developers,
exactly,
and the
not only the developers. So in developing a game, you need writers to write the story. Okay, you need perhaps an architect to sort of design the architecture of the game. You need several people from all kinds of areas or industries to be able to put together a very successful game. In the same way, in STEM, I would say the avenues are boundless. If you look at tech alone, you don't need to be a coder to be able to work in tech.
You have to write Python.
Hello
world.
There are products. I would give an example. There are product managers or product engineers who essentially are the middle people between salespeople and the developers. Yeah. Okay, the developer is not somebody who is used to talking to people. They want to just geek out in their corners and code products. The salesperson does not understand the tech. They just want to go and sell and make money.
So you need somebody in the middle.
That person in the middle who says, okay, they understand the tech, they also understand a bit of business, they put it together, and then they become like the front-facing side of tech. Yeah. That is an exciting STEM role or a tech role. So in the same way,
not necessarily being hardcore tech.
Exactly. So if you're a writer, if you're a very good writer, you could find numerous opportunities in tech and still be able to play a very significant role in STEM.
Wonderful response. I think it leads us to the next question. Now, all this talk about closing the gender gap in STEM, how does all of that impact the future of work in Ghana? Because that's why we are doing all of this, to ensure that people have skills that will get them employed. Daisy, that's your question, but of course, you guys can add anything.
Now, when we talk about, the future of work, I would say it's probably one of the most exciting things about developing STEM. Okay, look at the current state for any recruiters out there who recruit, one of the biggest benefits of closing the gap would be an impact on the workforce.
Yeah.
We're going to suddenly have a diversified workforce. That there's going to be a different flavor of, new kinds of people who are going to be applying to tech roles. If you look at any tech role and how many people are applying for those roles, it's always, a lot of men, maybe 2 or 3 women in there. All of a sudden, we're going to see a very good mix of both female and male applying for these kinds of roles. Another very important thing I would highlight is the diversity we're going to see in innovation. Take medical innovation, for example. There's suddenly going to be women innovators in the health sector who are going to be designing new health products for women. When we talk about health and women, it's such a huge thing. But most of the products are designed by men. Okay, so to be able to close that gap, we're going to have, first of all, the diversity in the talent pool. We're going to also see diversity in innovation.
Okay.
But ultimately, it will just mean a lot more opportunities for women. And that's, I think, it would be such a great thing to see happen.
Diversified workforce, diversified innovation. I like that. These are 2 very strong things. Let's proceed. We're almost at the end. So, how can we promote gender equality in STEM education today? And what will that mean in terms of positioning Ghana as a leader in innovation and tech? I don't know. Anybody can answer that. Is open.
Yes. So one thing I also want to highlight on that as much as you're pushing for more girls into STEM, you shouldn't neglect the other parts. Exactly, because I was having a conversation with a couple of people and guys, and they're like, all the opportunities are for girls. What about we, the boys?
But they still end up in the pool, like she said. You advertise for a girl, they apply in their pool, you don't deny them,
So as much as we are pushing for girls to go into STEM, I want to say that we shouldn't neglect the boys as well. It should be a balance. We are pushing for more opportunities for girls, more opportunities for boys as well.
I see.
Okay,
Okay, so how do we get to position Ghana as a leader in innovation and technology, even as we promote gender equality in STEM education?
Yes. So putting our female STEM talents at the front line, putting them there for people to see that, okay, we have women in STEM, we have innovators in STEM as well, so that it won't be like there's an imbalance or anything. Yes, so I think that is one thing that we can do in that direction.
Any more thoughts?
All right. So she mentioned 2 things in the previous question, which is diversity and innovation. That is
workforce here.
The last one, which I just want to address, I had these as part of my notes, is diversity in decision making.
I see.
When it's male dominated and the decisions are being made about STEM, there's that bias. You don't realize it, right? As a man, you don't realize it subconsciously. But then when there's that balance, you begin to see that the ladies are also weighing in this decision making in the workforce. So it's very important, and you can see some countries are passing the policy when it comes to gender balance in certain public institutions and even private institutions. But to your question, when the opportunities for representation in STEM, whether locally or globally, that gender balance should also be present, right? If there's a competition outside which is focused on STEM, and every time you notice Ghana is taking just male representation, it gives an indication that we're not training. But I know we're doing a lot as a country. There's a report out there that shows that in sub-Saharan Africa, Ghana is well positioned to develop STEM and then capitalize on the markets. There's about 6 billion revenue in that STEM space, and Ghana is well positioned to be the leader. So that opportunity when it comes to representation, it should always be a balance. And I'm happy that the last couple of STEM competitions that have been held, exactly, they're doing it. So we shouldn't stop them that, once they go to the global stage, there's that challenge that they're going to meet, guys. No, we should, once they've won here, we should empower them to go into the global stages. And GA last year, when Rwanda, they won so of course they had a representative from Ghana, they went to Rwanda, they won. I think global they were second. And they had a lady in there, she was doing the speaking. She was good at it. So we should keep pushing that narrative of having more female do representation when it comes to STEM the country.
Now let me stay with you. Long-term societal benefits of achieving parity or gender parity in the STEM field. What do we stand to gain at the end of the day when we even things up? We have women and men all in the broad STEM field. What are the benefits?
Goes back to the 3 points that she mentioned, right? So having a workforce that is well balanced, right? And also when it comes to the innovation, if we continue to focus on STEM, Ghana could be the driver of innovation globally. Right now, the latest tech baby is ChatGPT. How we operate it was done by a Ghanaian or a Ghanaian kid, right? So we're looking for these opportunities for Ghana, and these things drive revenue. Let me give you an example of Estonia. They don't have a lot of natural resources.
They are big on tech.
What they're focusing on right now is Edtech.
I see.
And their per capita, when you look at what's it called, it's a term for it, in terms of unicorns, per capita unicorn, they are number one in the world because such a small country, 1.3 million, but they have 2 unicorns, either 2 or 3, and that's because of their focus on tech. If we do that as a country, and I'm sure the government has its own priorities, but if we focus on this is what we could be leading towards. And imagine all your boat revenue is going to Estonia, all the money they collect. So if we have these innovations coming in and driving revenue here, we don't need to Japan to go out there. The Japan money will be coming here.
See, any more thoughts, concluding comments as we answer, or you want to add to anything?
Just a thought on one of the questions around parents supporting.
Yes.
One of the I have a little girl as well, and I know she loves to play with games on the phone. But I think it was at an event I went to where one of the speakers mentioned asking the children questions around what they are enjoying. So I also came back home and I asked her, I threw the challenge to her that you really enjoy playing this game, but do you know that you can actually also create your own? Now, when I started asking her these questions, all of a sudden, she just burst out with such excitement, and she was telling me about all the things she would love to create and what she wanted to create. And it suddenly sparked that interest in the idea of creating her own things. And I think it's a very it's a simple yet an effective way to get the children to start thinking about not only being the consumers of these tech products, but encouraging them to be the makers of these products as well. Yeah.
Wonderful. May I want to add anything? Concluding thoughts?
Yes, so I would like to say to a young female change maker out there or a young boy out there that the world is a big stage for big performance. So we shouldn't limit ourselves to the blue collar jobs that are there that we think that, these are, safety places that I can go to. STEM is an innovative way to bring out your ideas, creative, and then all of that. So let us all come together, support the girls, support the boys, and then put our very best. And then we can make Ghana the country we want to see and then not have to Japan.
Yeah. Nana, wrap it up for us.
Yeah, I think every now and then there are industries that are booming, right? A couple of years ago it was marketing, digital marketing, which is still is content creation and all of that.
Yeah.
When we look at opportunities in STEM, whether learning opportunities or job opportunities. So for a very young age, you might not be thinking of job opportunities 15 years away from then. And then you can teach them or making these cool games yourself, making all these things yourself. That's where the interest will come from. But globally, it's estimated that there are 1.2 million unfilled STEM opportunities.
Wow, 1.2 million.
Exactly. And if we could train all these in the world and then have Ghanaian youth apply for these jobs, because when it comes to STEM or let's say technology, opportunities are not tied to boundaries, right? There's no border. You could be here and be applying for a job in Romania, Japan, everywhere. So look at these opportunities. For me, if we're able to focus on this, it solves a lot of problems. It solves unemployment, and it also solves innovation and revenue generation for the individuals and also for the country.
Wonderful. That was a great conversation. Let me thank my guest, Daisy Amabafo, Learner Engagement Program Manager at Generation Ghana, Nana Bakwesi is Country Manager for ALX Ghana, and Miriam Oklu, Associate Monitoring, Evaluation and Learning Officer at the Ghana Society for Education Technology. We've been having a great conversation on gender equality in STEM education, closing the gender gap. So if you're listening to us, I'm sure you've taken away a thing or two, a few nuggets for you to chew on and pursue for yourself, for your child, for your ward, or if you're a teacher, for your students. All of that part of Edtech Monday, the September edition. Edtech Monday is a platform for Edtech entrepreneurs, education stakeholders, and reps to facilitate critical conversations on the use of technology for teaching and learning. It's an initiative of the MasterCard Foundation's Regional Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning. It's part of the foundation strategy to fight solutions to Africa's employment by closing the gap in access to quality education and advancing the integration of technology in education policies and practices across Africa. Edtech Monday airs every last Monday of the month, live on the City Breakfast Show that we did today. And you can also catch us live on Facebook, City 97.3 FM and MEST Africa. My guests, thank you so much. Nana Dakwesi Edu, Daisy Amabafo, and Miriam Okuli. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you guys.
Thank you.
And wish you the very, very best. I'm sure we'll meet somewhere soon. Just before I leave, a quick announcement from MEST. Now, if you are an agri-entrepreneur and you are looking to scale, there's a great opportunity for you. MEST is putting out they've put out the applications. The applications are now open. And it's called the MEST Africa Challenge 2024. Now, there's a $50,000 prize. You win that in equity funding. Just visit meltwater.org/MAC to find out more. The application deadline is this Friday. So hurry up, apply, put in your application. You never know. You could walk away as a big winner in the MEST Africa Challenge 2024. If you're an agri-tech entrepreneur, you're looking to scale, this is your opportunity. Visit meltwater.org/MAC. Thank you for listening. It's been another edition of Edtech Monday. The September edition will be back at the end of next month for the October session. Until then, enjoy yourself, keep investing in Edtech, and remember, the space is wide enough for everybody. So find your little corner, do what you can do, excel at it, and enlarge the ever-growing Edtech community.